Hey guys, welcome to the Dream Lab. We are ready for another dream. We're going to walk through, figure out what it means, and we're going to help you do the same thing. So, we have a dreamer right here. Come on up. We'll have you share this with everybody.
Okay, so I dreamed I walked into this room and I saw this guy kill a teenage boy, but it was like I was watching a movie. The teenage boy that was killed was shot with some type of arrow. It was silver and it was sticking out the right side of his chest. Then I noticed my grandson in a bed. It was like a twin-sized bed, and he was covered up with a white blanket. And then I saw another twin-sized bed with my daughter in it, and she also was covered up with a white blanket. And I saw another twin-sized bed with my stepson in it, and he was covered with a blanket. I never saw their faces. I could just tell that through the blanket, it was those three people.
Okay.
And then I could hear my stepdaughter in another room with the door closed talking on the phone. Never saw her, but just could hear her voice. And I was afraid that if my children and grandson moved, that they would be killed. And if they heard her talking, she would be killed. But it's like they never heard her talk. And I was just afraid that they would hear her, but nothing ever happened, and I woke up.
All right. Very good. Thank you. So, clarifying question? Go ahead and hand him the mic, if you don't mind.
What are the ages of your daughter, your stepson, and your grandson that you saw in the bed?
Okay, all three are firstborn. So my daughter is 28, stepson is 27, and my grandson is 6.
Important, they're all firstborn. That's interesting.
And the stepdaughter, she's 24,
24.
but she's a secondborn.
Okay. So, let's just repeat that dream, make sure we've got the pieces, and then we're going to start working through it. So, in this dream, you are inside of a home, living room area, and you see this young man getting shot, and it was like in a movie, but he gets shot and killed, and it's with an arrow, and you can see it sticking through. And the next thing you see is the twin-sized bed, and it's your daughter first.
My grandson first, my
your
stepson.
grandson first, your stepson, then your daughter. And each of the twin-sized beds, they're covered with a white sheet, so they can't be seen, but you know it's them. You know the first one is your grandson, you know the second one is your daughter, and you know the third stepson, and then the third one is your daughter. And then you can hear your stepdaughter in another room talking, and you're thinking, this person just got killed. I hope they don't move. I hope they don't get seen, because I don't want them to get hurt. If they hear them or if they draw attention, they can get hurt as well, and that's where the dream ends. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so what you're going to do is pause your video and then come up with a title. What's your title? Grab yourself a piece of paper or something. Maybe you can sketch on your device and diagram this out. What's your focus? What are your sub-focuses? What are your details? What do they mean? Write out an interpretation, and once you have an interpretation for this dream that you'd feel comfortable sharing with the dreamer, start the video again, and we'll let you know what we got here at the lab. Hey guys, welcome back to the lab. Hopefully you've got your interpretation and you're ready to work through this. Ready and work are two different words. Don't combine them. Ready does not make any sense. So, let's start with diagramming out this dream. What did we give this one as a title? The children, okay. And who or what is the focus of this dream? It's one of those really interesting dreams because you have part of the dream where the children aren't there. It's really hard to even find a focus on this one, but the closest thing you're going to find is the children. Some people, even though the dreamer is not actually participating in any way, it might be easier to diagram if you made the dreamer the focus. Because the two scenes, the dreamer observing is the only thing that's holding this together. That's just for the diagram. You don't want to make it about, how do you say that? It's not about an action of the dreamer. So, because they're not actually acting, they're just observing something. And we'll explain why this fits that way, and why the dreamer would make a good focus if you wanted to do that for the diagram as we interpret it a little bit more. So what are our sub-focuses then? Yeah. The dead boy, that'd be a sub-focus. Somebody said the killer. There'd be detail. And so detail off of the children could be the beds. They're all twin beds and white sheets. These are more details than they are sub-focuses. Because if you never figure that piece out, it's still okay. But there's one more detail off of this. The arrow, yeah. The arrow that had struck him. And then there's one more sub-focus in the dream that kind of ties in the whole thing. Gives you a plot. The stepdaughter talking on the phone. I'll just write talking. That would be a detail. But the thing that really kind of ties this in together, and I know it wasn't a major overwhelming feeling, but it's the concern for the children. Because you've got a flash at the beginning, seeing this boy, and then you're seeing this, and it's almost like you're just seeing it. It's not like staring. It's like you're seeing these things, you're hearing this voice, and then the thought is, oh, I hope that whoever did that doesn't notice them, right? So there's a concern, and I would use that word concern, and I actually put that as a sub-focus. Because without that, there's no plot, there's no story, there's no movement to this. So what holds it together is the storyline. So one of the practices that we talk about is how can you communicate the dream in its simplest form. You notice something bad happened to somebody, you're concerned it might happen to your kids. That's the simplest form of this dream. It's also the interpretation of the dream. But there's some details and there's some understandings to pull that in. So let's take a look at some of this. Dead boy. Who is that? Why boy? Why not old man? Maybe not mature in their walk. Maybe they're another generation, a similar generation to the children, a little bit, but similar generation to the children. So there's a connection there. So that's that piece. So similar age.
So it's something that's killing teenagers or that age group. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily a danger.
Teenager or young adults. What's an arrow? Could be words, could be accusations, could be the darts, spiritual attack. Funny enough, I think one of our later dream elements we just put out was about arrows. We talk about all the different possibilities. So it's an attack from the enemy. And the Ephesians 6 passage, it could be using words, it could just be a spiritual attack. So who's the killer? The enemy, right? The enemy. Now, kids on the beds. All firstborns, right? Is it important that they're on beds? They're at rest. They're twin beds, so they're individual beds, if you will. They're not big beds for multiple people. So they're single. So a unique placement. So, but something about rest, something about individual. Why white sheets? Covering? Purity. White talks about righteousness, talks about purity. So they're resting in righteousness. We're going really into details. If you never figure out any of these details, you can still tell the dreamer what the dreamer needs to know. But these details, it's good because once you figure out the main point of the dream, then you start filling in the details to add nuance, to add pieces if you get revelation. But if at any point you're starting to grasp for what a detail is, just leave it out. The dreamer may not even know that you left it out, or if they do, they'll probably find it out when they look at their situation, if it's something that's currently going on or has gone on, or when they walk through it, if it's something that's going to happen in the future. A lot of the details, sometimes there's details that don't make sense when we're looking at it, but they make sense when we walk through what the dream was talking about. It's like, oh, that's what that was. So try, but if you can't figure it out, it's okay. Don't hold the interpretation of the dream hostage to understanding every detail. That's really key. It'll help a lot. And that's why we start with reducing the dream to its simplest form. Then you add the pieces back onto it. All right, so the girl talking. Yeah, so it's in a different room. She doesn't really see any of them. They're all covered. But talking, there's some type of communication. Could that be talking about relationship? Is it something? She wasn't preaching. She wasn't teaching. She was talking, which is more of a conversation, kind of a feel. Maybe would be prayer, but in the dream, there's nothing that really anchors that. It was just talking, just small talk, conversation. So I'm not even sure what to do with that other than leaving it. So she was on the phone. She was on the phone in the dream. So that, you didn't see her. Okay, so for clarity, the dreamer just said that she had this sense that the stepdaughter was on the phone talking, even though she couldn't see her, but that was the sense that she had. So then that might more lead to the idea of prayer, because cell phone, a wireless connection, that might more lead to prayer, or it could also still be about relationship. Yes?
I was wondering if, so how I understood it was you heard her and it caused you a level of concern because you thought it was going to draw the enemy's fire. So whatever this girl was doing in the other room, you were concerned that it was going to affect all of them badly. And so it wasn't that she was doing anything malicious or wrong. It was something that she was doing unaware that there was an enemy presence. You were concerned it was going to draw enemy fire.
Yeah. Now, and just for clarity, and I'll give you this back, you were also concerned that if the other children moved, that they might draw attention.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so the concern was for all the children, and it was different concerns for different ones.
Right.
So, different children, different situations, but you can come back to the same. She's seen the effect of the enemy's attack on this generation, and she's concerned that the same thing could happen to her children. Why did God give this dream to this dreamer? Intercession, but why else? Think about the dream. To give her peace. Why? Because the enemy didn't notice them. They're resting in righteousness, and the enemy is not noticing them, even though she thinks that it would be easy for them too. So there's a encouragement that God is giving to the dreamer from the dream as well. So you've got both. It doesn't hurt to pray, but the main point is the concern and realizing, but they're actually okay. Dream ends, they're okay. The dream doesn't end with cliffhanger and the enemy is about ready to walk in the room. Or, right now, that would completely change your interpretation if that was part of the dream. But since it's not part of the dream, you're left with, yeah, that happened, but this is a different situation. Make sense? Any questions on this one? Yeah, we'll start here because you got the mic, and then we'll send the mic over here.
My main thing with this dream was, like, how did I know it was those children under the cover? Because I didn't actually see them. And why those children instead of one of the other ones? You know, why was it these 4 in particular? Like, I was trying to, I was wondering if there was a reason it was these 4 children. And why wasn't the 4th one covered as well? Why was she, like, in the room closed off? So I was trying to make a connection with that, thinking maybe it was more to it, or even me being able to see, even though I couldn't physically, I didn't really see them, but I just knew it was them. Just like I just knew it was this daughter on the phone by her voice. But with them being concealed, me just knowing, just looking at the cover, how it was shaped, that it was these children.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that happens often in dreams is you know stuff. You don't have to be told to know stuff. Because in the spirit, you know a lot more than what your mind does. So you don't understand things in the spirit the same way that our mind has been taught to learn. So it's just normal in dreams to know stuff that you have no way of knowing. That's just normal. So that, I don't know that there's any meaning to it other than it was just so that you knew. The meaning was they were under the covers. They were completely covered. So it was more about that than the fact that you knew who they were. It'd be very different. It might have a different meaning if they were only covered, but you could still see their faces. Then they're a little bit more obvious and more seen. Why is she in the other room? Because she's completely unseen. She can be heard, but she's completely unseen. And so it's just, here's the shape. They're there. They could have been seen. That can't be seen. It's in the other room. Is there something about her voice and maybe her communication style that some might draw attention? That's a possibility. I think that might be a little bit of a stretch, but you would know from knowing the personality, knowing the person, you'd be able to draw that. But yeah, I don't know that there's more meaning to the depths of that, really. Yeah. Yeah. Did you have a question as well? Yeah, Brandon over here.
So this might be getting in the weeds, but the arrow was silver, and I was curious to see if that detail had any revelation to it.
Yeah, so what might silver mean, thinking about it in biblical terms? You have redemption, which is the one, but you also have betrayal. You have the fact that it's an expensive metal. It's not a normal metal for an arrow, so might that have some meaning, but it's different than wood. It's solid. It's actually metal. Yeah, that's about as far as so I can think through those things. I'm not landing on any revelation on this particular dream. And and part of it, so I was going to mention earlier why I would say that it be to diagram this dream. It's almost easier to diagram the dreamer as the focus, even though the dreamer is not actively involved in what's going on, because the dream is really about how the dreamer is feeling. So the dream is showing the dreamer what's going on inside of their soul. It's a self-conditioned dream. There's soul dreams that are a little bit more negative, but then there's soul dreams that are just showing you what's going on in your soul. And this is one of those dreams. It's just showing, hey, you've seen this generation being taken out, and there's a concern for your family that they're going to be taken out. Now, God added an encouragement. They're covered in righteousness. They're unseen by the enemy, unheard by the enemy. So that you can add that encouragement in there, but this fits in that realm of a soul dream, which is why the dreamer is the piece that connects all the pieces together, even though they're not directly involved, because it's what they're concerned, what they're seeing, what they're noticing that's being communicated. Does that make sense? Don't hold the interpretation of the dream hostage to understanding every detail. And as soon as you do that, you get stuck, and it makes it harder and harder to interpret dreams. If you've got the main point, you can give the dreamer. Here in this type of situation, we explore a lot more details, but most of the time when you're interpreting a dream, you're having a conversation with somebody, it's right in the moment, and you're just giving them the first thoughts that come to your head. You're probably just hitting 20% of the dream. But it's just enough to point their attention in the right direction so that they can hear God for themselves. The point of interpreting dreams for others is not to remove their relationship with God so that they don't have to search out the meaning. It's to give them enough that they have to search Him out to get the rest. You don't want to give them all the answers. You want to give them enough that it makes them hungry for more. All right. So I think Rosie had something that she wanted to share. She brought up an interesting stuff that I didn't know about. So come on up, Rosie.
All right, hey guys. So I'm Rosie. I work here at Streams, and I get to do this cool thing and take care of the app. We have an app. Who knows that we have an app? Yay, who has the app? Yay! Y'all are real MVPs here, man. Thank you. So for those who don't have the app, so we also have the Dream Elements on our app, Dream Labs. And what you can do is do exactly what you've done today, but on here. So everything, what I mean by that is you can press play, and then at some point, John tells you to stop and go do it for yourself. So you can press pause, go back and take a note, and it takes it for that video itself. So if you look at the thing, okay? So you can title it and do everything as you just did right now. And it's another way you can keep on practicing this with other Dream Labs. Another cool thing is we have notes, which those notes that you take will be saved here. When you take a note, basically it can be your diary, TBH. So wake up, write your dream, title it, do everything you can. And for you dreamt and you had arrows. So what you can do, who knows we have dream elements? Yes, oh my gosh. Okay, so once you have your dream and you've written down your dream, right when you wake up, you can go to our videos, and that's where all our dream elements are. And so you can go back and forth and help yourself out. Last little gem that I want to share with you, which you're going to be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. When you go to our blog, English, these last 4 blogs down here are the dream interpretation process. So there's 1 through 4. And so you can read those blogs and you can learn different things about interpreting dreams. Yeah. So that's it.
That's awesome. Guys, thank you so much for coming. Yeah, that was good. That was fun. I didn't know that you could actually put a note on a video to have your own notes. That's brand new information for me. So I know, it's awesome. I love it. I'll say, just adding on to that little piece, one of the great things, this is a free resource. Please share. Just let people know about it. You run into people that have dreams. Hey, check out this app. It's got a bunch of information on interpreting dreams. And it's there and it's available. And we just want to get this into people's hands to help them to understand his voice better. Yay. Bless you guys. Thank you.